fans, and welcome to the beautiful Royale Theater in downtown Boston, and welcome to Season 2, Week 8 of Team Combat League Boxing. Tonight, your hometown team, the Boston Butchers, take on the undefeated Philadelphia Smoke in one of the marquee matchups of this young season.
All state officials to ringside. All state officials to ringside. We are 5
tonight. If you're joining us for the first time in Team Combat League, you're probably wondering what it's all about. Well, it's team boxing in a totally reimagined format. And for an explanation of the rules and what to expect tonight, we're going to send it to the TCL president, Dewey Cooper.
Team Combat League is a new, exciting professional boxing team sport. The fight format for Team Combat League guarantees explosiveness, adrenaline, and excitement. There's a 24-round competition between two teams from different cities, and each individual round is a new individual matchup. The first 8 rounds are called the lunch rounds. We're lunching the competition off. The middle 8 rounds are called the middle rounds, and the last 8 rounds from round 17 through 24 are called the money rounds. Each round is scored individually, new matchups every round, and the team with the most points at the end of 24 rounds wins the fight. There's nothing more exciting than Team Combat League.
So there it is, Dewey Cooper with an explanation of how it all goes down tonight. Now, we talked a little bit about the Philadelphia Smoke coming in undefeated, but how about the Boston Butchers? Coming off a loss in their most recent outing against the Atlanta Attack down in Orlando, Florida, they are now 1-1-1 on the season and have not won since opening night. Now, with that being said, there are some new faces coming into town tonight for Boston. They have suffered some injuries over the last couple of weeks, and some other fighters who have other fight commitments. So what that means tonight for the Butchers, only 13 active fighters on the roster tonight, and a couple of new faces, including Jalen Renard, a welterweight from Springfield, Massachusetts, a longtime competitor on the local circuit. He is going to be making his TCL debut tonight. But the big name is the heavyweight Skylar Lacy, 7-1 last year as a member of the TCL Las Vegas team. He is now signed with the Boston Butchers, who have had all kinds of problems at heavyweight. He's going to step in there tonight for the first time in a couple of tough matchups. So when you think about the breakdown of the roster, 13 fighters for the Boston Butchers tonight are scheduled to fight twice. That can sometimes be problematic. If a fighter gets knocked out in his first match of the night, he is unable to compete for the rest of the night. And without a viable replacement, the Butchers would have to forfeit a point in either the middle or the money rounds. So that's where the scoring concept comes into play. So the Butchers have to be very careful with the thin roster tonight. How's that all going to play out? Our ringside correspondent Ron Borges caught up with both coaches to get their take on the action.
Yeah, and with Bob Kane, the head coach of the undefeated Philadelphia squad, how would you describe your team? Obviously, you've been dominating the TCL early on.
Good.
yeah, I would say 4-0 is as good as you can get, right?
Yeah, that's it. 4-0, 5-0 tonight.
You have a lot of different styles on this team. You have some guys that are punches, some guys that boxes.
Yeah, we have pressure fighters, boxers, variety of fighters to stylistically match up against the other teams.
How difficult is it for you as a coach and trainer of these guys to adapt to this sort of style where each fighter's only got 3 minutes to show what they've got? It's a lot different, obviously, than a 10-round fighter.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fighters. The fighters adapt. We picked them on the team for their styles, and the fighters that we picked are doing their job, and they're going to continue to keep doing their job.
Now, you got a couple of undefeated fighters. When you go in to match these guys up, especially for the money rounds, which are so significant, what's the process you go through deciding, okay, which one of my fighters am I going to put in here against Boston's?
To be honest with you, our 1 and 2s, they can go against anyone. It really doesn't matter, pretty much with it. I mean, this week we're missing a couple people, but, we're still going to be all right because our 1 and 2s are pretty much the same. So, I don't really worry about it too much, and they don't either.
What do you do with a fighter? If you have a fighter who's a sort of counterpuncher by style and nature, this doesn't seem like this format really lends itself to that. But do you look at it and say, well, the guy's got to fight his style, whatever it is, or do you try to tell him, you only got 3 minutes?
Pretty much the whole team's versatile. So, they're counterpunchers, pressure fighters, boxers. They can do either way. So we do the opposite of what the opponent's doing.
Well, how much do you know about the Boston team, and what are you expecting to see them put pressure on you tonight?
The roster changed so much. We don't know much about them. I just know about my fighters, and I know they're going to perform and do what they're supposed to do.
That's Bob Kane, coach of the undefeated Philadelphia Smoke, and he's not worried about the other team. He's just happy with his team. Thanks, Bob.
That's it. All right.
We're here with Boston Butcher coach Mike Gargaro. Now you're in with the number one team in the league here, undefeated 4-0. What are your thoughts going in?
I think we're ready to take them down. We got a little chip on the shoulder now. We had a tough loss last week or 2 weeks ago. And I think we learned a lot from it, and we're kind of regrouped. We got a little time to regroup, and I think we'll come with a solid squad tonight.
What do you know about this Smoke team? I know they're 4-0, and they got 7 knockouts spread out amongst their fighters, but every night's a new night. So, how much do you know about them and their fighters?
Right. I mean, we did research. We looked into them. They're a tough team, but we match up pretty good. I think it's every week. You write it all on paper and it looks great, and then we don't know exactly how everybody's going to perform. So that's the interesting part of the sport. We really don't know exactly what's going to happen in the round. But I mean, if I have it on paper, it's neck and neck.
Well, you've picked up a couple new fighters here, including Skylar Lacy, 6'7" heavyweight. Good addition to your team, I would think.
Yes, yeah, that's a great addition. Skylar's he's been here before. He knows the deal. He knows how to work in this environment, and he's done TCL before too. So he knows this strategy of how we're working. And 6'7", he's a big boy.
Yeah, I know last season he was 7-1 in this competition, and Jimmy Birchfield, when he gave you the call and told you that you're getting a new fighter when he was 7-1 last year, what was your first thought?
No, I mean, I know Skylar, so I was happy. We need a solid heavyweight to deal with. I mean, Philly's got solid heavyweights, and we need to make sure we're neck and neck with them when it comes down to every weight class. We don't want to have any holes.
Sure. Now, obviously, we talk about the money rounds. For every one of these fights, those are so important. When you were setting your lineup and they were setting theirs, what was going through your mind this week in the matchups?
It's a lot of it is trying to make sure you accentuate the positives of your lineup and try to limit the positives of theirs. So I thought we did a pretty good job. A couple injuries here and there. We had to swap out a couple of people. So it's never ideal because it's always, you can always feel like you could get a little bit better out of it. But I'm happy with the lineup. I love our squad. Our squad is solid.
That's Mark Gargaro from the Boston Butchers. Says he's ready to fight.
You're ready to come, Philly.
So there you have it. Both coaches weighing in on tonight's action. Now, we mentioned the Philadelphia Smoke. They come in as the hottest team in the league, 4-0 in competition this year. They've yet to lose a match, and it really hasn't been all that close. In their last matchup, they beat the Miami South 233 to 221. They are healthier and a lot deeper tonight than the Boston Butchers are. Now, there are some key matchups to keep an eye on. Some of the pros in this Philadelphia team that may have a decided advantage. One of them is going to be in the female featherweight division, where Brittany Sims, who is 6-0 in TCL this season, has 2 matchups scheduled against Alicia Pike, who is 0-2 for the Boston Butchers. That could be a very big swing for the Smoke. Also tonight, Isaiah Johnson, 5-0 this year in the welterweight division. He is going to take on Jalen Renard, who we mentioned making his debut, and also take on Keno Luna, who had a big victory for the Butchers to get them a draw against the LA Elite in their second matchup. And Kader Albright, the 5-2 middleweight from Philadelphia, he is going to take on Rashidi Ellis twice tonight. Ellis is 5-0 in TCL combat this year, so that's going to be a very, very big swing match. 2 of the top stars on each team squaring off potentially twice tonight. And last but not least, a big heavyweight from Philadelphia, Joey Dawejko, a genuine throwback fighter from Philadelphia. He's promoted by the great Russell Peltz. He's an anytime, anywhere type fighter. He has 2 matchups scheduled against Sparrow Lacy, who we mentioned previously making his TCL debut. And, of course, Lacy was 7-1 last year in TCL. Dawejko this year so far is 5-1. So you have 4 big matchups right there on paper that could take this thing in either direction. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. Can the Smoke keep their undefeated record intact, or will the Butchers get arguably their biggest win of the season? We're about to find out. Let's send it to our ring announcer, Patrick Sullivan, for the official introduction.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Royale Boston for Team Combat League. Tonight's matchup features the visiting Philadelphia Smoke against the home Boston Butchers. Let's get the action started, and welcome to the ring, the Philadelphia Smoke. All right, Royale, and all the loyal Bostonians in the building. Now let's welcome to the ring your Boston Butchers! Head coach for the Boston Butchers is Mark Gargaro. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the national anthem by 15-year-old saxophone sensation Eddie Bishop. and gentlemen, Eddie Bishop! All right, Boston, Massachusetts, let's welcome the first fighters to the ring. In the featherweight division from Philadelphia, Rasheed Brown, and from Boston, Mike Valentin!
Welcome back to Team Combat League Season 2, Week 8. Michael Parenti joined by my broadcast partner, Peter Welch, and we want to thank you for joining us on YouTube right now for the launch rounds of tonight's contest between the undefeated Philadelphia Smoke and the 1-1-1 Boston Butchers, who are in desperate need of a big win coming off their most recent loss to Atlanta. Peter, welcome back. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be back, brother.
Take a look at some of these records here. You see Rasheed Brown for Philly, 5-1 this season in TCL. And when you're 4-0 as a team, you're going to have a lot of guys with big records on that Philadelphia side. And it's going to be tough sledding early on. Mike Valentin comes in at 1-1 in TCL this year. Made his debut when we were here last against the Los Angeles Elite. That was a draw for the Butchers. We mentioned in the open, Peter, only 13 active fighters tonight for Boston. A lot of guys are being tasked with, theoretically, fighting 2 fights tonight, which, as you know, this could be dangerous. If a guy gets knocked out early in the night, you're more or less forfeiting that point the next time that matchup comes around. So
yeah, it's tough, and it looks like Brown's coming in bombing, throwing big shots, marking Valentin down a little bit. Maybe oversized.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Mike Valentin's a much smaller fighter by trade. He's a 126, 130-pounder against a guy who looks like a natural, almost a 140.
Now, that's the thing you're going to see. These guys are stepping up, to contribute to the team, and they're giving up some weight in some circumstances, and it's working against them.
Some guys are fighting heavier at their walk-around weight against guys who are cutting to get to that exact same weight, and that's where, Peter, as you know, that size difference comes into play.
Dangerous.
And you go up and down these rosters in any city, any team in TCL, and you see a lot of guys fighting heavier than usual. This is, in quotes, their off-season in a bit, but it's also a way to stay sharp for their pro career as well. And Brown right now getting the best of Valentin. It's not where
Valentin's a gamer. He's
sure
right
is.
there. He's banging right back at him.
Valentin, one of those fighters who is supposed to fight twice tonight, and he will, in theory, kick off or be a part of the middle rounds against Giovanni Tellez. That's another key addition to this Philadelphia Smoke roster, which we'll talk about later. But for now, he has his hands full with Rasheed Brown.
And these guys, the Smoke, they're undefeated this year so far, right?
4-0, and they really haven't been challenged all that much. Had a 233 to 221 win over Miami in their last matchup. Went down to Florida, or rather, Florida came up north to Philly, and the Smoke took care of business like they've done all year. It's a deep roster, and the reputation is that Philly fighters are among the toughest in the world, and so far they've lived up to the billing in TCL.
Yeah, they always bred a certain level of fighter out of Philly.
Absolutely. Valentin hanging, though.
He is. He's right there.
A little slip, and Brown just kind of gives him a hip toss to the side. It's not a knockdown. Referee Arthur Mercante overseeing the action in this first bout.
Junior, right?
That's correct.
Junior. Little legend. Look at Valentin right in his face. You got to give him credit.
He's not going to go down without a fight, especially when it's a 3-minute round. So Valentin fighting until the end, but good opening round for Brown for the Philadelphia Smoke.
Good job by both men. Give Valentin a lot of credit for stepping up.
Great way to kick things off here in TCL
Let's
combat.
Welcome the next fighters to the ring in the female featherweight division.
That's what makes this so interesting is the team element. The Sims.
All right, next fight on the way as we wait the score from bout 1. It's a tough one here for the Butchers. Leash Pike has not done well thus far in TCL, and Sims is 6-0. This is one of those spots where Philly probably figures it's going to get the point and maybe more. And for the Butchers, you just don't want to fall in too deep a hole.
I like the way Leash, when she's overmatched, she makes it rough. She gets in there, throws the opponent off, and tries to mug him a little bit. It's not pretty, but it gets her through the rounds.
And this bout's also scheduled for the money rounds as well. So we haven't heard the official announcement, but it looks like if you look at your screen that the Smoke have the 10, which would indicate that Rasheem Brown won that first round. And so far Sims is taking care of Leash Pike here.
I'd like to see Leash take the play away by coming forward a little bit, like I'd seen her do in the past.
And there is the official announcement from ring announcer Pat Sullivan. So the Smoke have the early 10-9 lead, trying to add to it here with Brittany Sims against Leash Pike. And Pike was one of those mid-season acquisitions for the Butchers. Melanie Costa suffered a cut in her first fight. There have been a lot of roster turnover in a lot of cities this year, and particularly for Boston. And we'll get into that in a little bit as you see Pike's nose bloodied. Sims now has her back into the corner here with still 90 seconds to go in this round.
Leash is tough. She's right there with her.
Pike was kind of a late bloomer in this sport. But Sims is charging hard. Sims, 33 years old. She's promoted by Marshall Kaufman, who runs a lot of events in that Philly, New Jersey area. She's 6-3 as a pro. So she has a lot of ring experience.
Yeah, she's setting things up nice, working to the body.
This is where Philly wants to stack its points in those matches where they have the advantage on paper. And if you're Boston, you just steal a couple of those along the way. Pike a bloody mess here in this second round. And Sims is just letting her hands go. Final 30 seconds, and they're going to wave it off. Wow. That's a tough break for the Butchers with 30 seconds to go. What would be a 10-9 round now turns to 10-7.
Wow. That's unfortunate. I'd like to see them let that go a little bit, Mike.
I thought for a minute they were just checking, and so you even see the ringside physician not really sure what's happening, but no, they've
stopped it.
They've waved it off and they stopped it. It doesn't look like, and that was Dr. Warner, one of the ringside physicians in Boston. It didn't look like there was a little confusion there, but at the end of the day, it ends up being another big win for the for the Smoke. Rather, take a look here at the final seconds here.
I can't they saw enough?
Yeah. You know, it's one of those situations, Peter, where you know the fighter probably doesn't have a chance to pull it out in the last 30 seconds.
You know, you can see
what do you do there
if there was multiple rounds. It's one round. It was 30 seconds left. I think she would have made it. She went that whole distance.
And now you put the Butchers in a big hole here. That's a 10-7 round in favor of the Smoke. That's their 8th knockout as a team this year, by the way.
That's unfortunate.
And now you got the veteran Avery Sparrow taking on Elijah Peso from Rhode Island. Sparrow's a guy who's had some big fights on his resume. Tevin Farmer, William Foster III, fought Rolly Romero. So
Elijah's catching him.
Here's
nice
Elijah.
With that right hand. But he's coming right in. He knows he's in a fight, so he's putting it right on him. He's not going to waste any time.
And this is one that the Butchers need.
Nice.
They got to get something back, but Sparrow now responds with a couple of shots of his own.
Up to the body. They still got the names up there.
This has been, for TCL purposes, a resurgence for Avery Sparrow.
Elijah's doing better when he's coming forward. He's getting caught, though, when he's laying back. He's going to lay back and get caught with that left hook.
Both guys coming to trade.
Keep him on the ropes.
And even though it's early, Peter, there's a little sense of urgency for Boston.
Yeah, there is.
And they're down 20-16 right out the gate. You see the score now corrected on the screen. That's a big hole to get out of.
Good.
Inadvertent bell.
Good.
The bell rang, and the round's not even close to over. Both fighters stopped for a minute.
I was going to say Elijah won that round.
If you stop it right there, sure.
Nope, he just got caught with that hook.
Well, the very tough veteran battle-tested Avery Sparrow has his hands full with Elijah Peso from the Butchers. This could be a big one for Boston if they get this one back.
Elijah's got the momentum, but I'd like to see him keep those hands up in those exchanges so we don't get caught with that left hook.
Peso hasn't won yet. He's had a couple of tough luck losses, 0-2 on the season. So you know he wants to get one and really get his team back in position.
You know, I think you can get away with some dirty tactics with the push down before the ref would jump in to work to your advantage. It's only one round. So some of these guys, you know, they're finding ways to get the win and throw guys off and making it rough. The dirty little tricks like that don't really look that bad, but it could take you out of your game. And it could be enough to set up a big KO punch.
Sparrow comes back with a 3-punch combo, but Peso's been applying the pressure. And we'll see if it's enough here before the final bell. Big final 30 seconds for both guys. Well, there hasn't been a lull in this round at all.
No, they're nonstop.
Nice
Sparrow
head
looks a
movement
little
there.
stronger. Looks like he got something left that he's holding back on. But Elijah's pushing the pace. There's that hook we're talking about.
Man, Peso's defense has been very good. Working the bodies, you see right there.
Yeah, that's close.
Oh, great action in the third round. I give that one slightly to Peso.
Yeah, I would too. It's tough to call, but give the edge to the hometown boy.
Take a look at some of the replay. This could be a big momentum boost for the Butchers if they can get this one. They really need it badly after losing the first two.
It's a tough one.
This is another one of those tough ones on paper. Johnson is 5-0 this season. Renard coming off the bench, making his TCL debut. Coming off his first career loss in March as a pro. He's 9-1 overall. But the young Johnson, 21 years old, southpaw from Sicklerville, New Jersey. And there it is, Peter. That's a big one for Boston.
Yeah. They just chip away at that.
Even though there are 24 rounds, you don't want to get too far behind too early. That's when desperation sets in to get out of the game plan a little bit. I mentioned Johnson, a young prospect out of New Jersey. He's been brought up accordingly. 9-0 with 7 knockouts as a pro. And he's 5-0 this year in TCL, so he's been very tough to beat. It's a tall task for Renard.
Lefty, tall, hard puncher, quick.
All the attributes, right? Checks all the boxes. You see why he's one of the fast-rising prospects in the Northeast, and TCL has just kind of been an extension of that for him. He hasn't lost on any platform this year.
You know, these kids really get to showcase their skills. 1 round, maybe 2 rounds if they get the double. And it's a great opportunity for these young kids, especially he's 21 years old, lefty, bright future.
Oh, you're right. There are some fighters who are young who are just getting some extra work, and then there are some older fighters who have found another outlet for them to perform.
Right.
Elvin Ayala tonight for the Boston Butchers is one of those fighters, making his TCL debut. He hasn't fought in 4 years, and this is an opportunity, and we'll see what he has left in the tank at 43 years old later on tonight. But right now you got Jalen Renard and Isaiah Johnson. 4th round of the night, halfway through the launch rounds here on YouTube. And we want to remind you to log into teamcombatleague.tv, purchase your Brawl Pass, stay with us throughout the night.
Yeah, it gives these guys an opportunity to keep the dream alive. You know, king of the 4-rounders.
Sure.
King of the 1-rounders. Who knows, you know, you get a...
Be a good format for Butterbean, right? He was the king of the 4-rounders.
Exactly.
He could have been the prime minister of the 1-rounders by that logic. Well, Renard hanging in there.
Yeah, he's doing well.
We'll see if Johnson has something in store for the final minute.
Yeah, now you start getting a little distracted talking in there. That's when things could get dangerous.
And there it is.
That's it.
Johnson double left hook. And they're not calling that a knockdown.
Maybe because he tripped
Maybe
over
he
his
tripped
shoe
up.
after he got caught with the left hand.
Looks like he caught him pretty good there. I mean, in real time, looks like a knockdown, but we'll maybe got to look at the replay. So, tough break for Johnson. Maybe a second win for Renard. The last thing you want is another 10-8 or another lopsided score working against you if you're the Butchers.
doubling up on that left
Yeah.
hand.
And that's what caught Renard during that exchange where he hit another left hand there.
That was a hard shot.
I think if there was any doubt about this round, Johnson's kind of answered the bell here in these last 60 seconds.
Yeah,
What do you think?
Yeah, he turned it up. Like you said, the last minute he turned it up.
Yeah.
10 seconds to go. He'd probably open him up now. Renard's doing a good job. He's staying alive.
Renard hung in there, but again, that final 60 seconds, I think, went in favor of Johnson.
Absolutely.
Looks like another point going in favor of the Smoke, who are starting to pad things a little bit here. Look at the action, the replay.
You know, Johnson won the round, but the upside is it's not a 10-7, 10-8 round.
It did look like they tripped. They got their feet tangled there during that exchange. Here comes one of the gems of this young season for the Butchers, Amelia Moore, who's 4-0 this year.
Yeah, she's doing great.
And this is one of those fights. And as expected, Philadelphia gets that one. It's 30-25.
It's a good matchup here, Mike.
Sorry, 40-34. And you're right, Peter. This is where Boston needs to chip away here. You have an edge on paper against Shamara Moreau, who's 1-2 for Philly. One of the few weak spots, if you want to call it that, for the Smoke, against Amelia Moore, who's 4-0 this year. So they're expecting her to get a point back, and maybe, if not more. This is the fun part of the season, too, Peter, where you look at the records, you can see the trends and how fighters have performed, and you can start plotting on paper where you think the weak points are and the strong parts are.
Well, Moore's picking her apart now. She's coming over the top with
Oh,
that
nice
right hand
double
is
hand, yeah.
landing. He's finding a home for it.
Nice combination. Amelia Moore's been brilliant in TCL this year.
If that jab is coming back low with the girl Moreau, and Moore's finding a home for that right hand. He's very low with that left hand.
Moore's applying the pressure here against Moreau. And it's another big, I mean, they're all big rounds, but when you're down by 6, this one's particularly big.
I like how Moore's using the feints to set up.
Yes. Good news, Peter, is that it's still very early where you can chip away slowly and not have to get desperate trying to go for a knockdown or a knockout.
Yeah, she hurt her with that shot.
Nonetheless, Moore is going for it. She's got Moreau in some trouble.
Who's holding it? Surprised the judge ain't calling the hold.
Referee's breaking them up, but they're going to let it continue. Moore's got 90 seconds, a lot of time here, Peter.
Protect yourself at all times. I like how Jerry's letting them go. They're working it out.
Moreau trying to hang on for dear life, and Moore's just punching
She's
through
holding.
it.
She's holding. She's complaining.
She's pushing, yeah.
And she's holding at the same time. She don't have her mouthpiece.
Little break in the action here, and in a probably a break for the Smoke where Moreau gets a breather.
Yeah,
because Amelia Moore, she's pouring it on here.
She panicked that she didn't have her mouthpiece, and she did a good. She held on to Moore. It was pretty slick. That was an early bell. That was a minute.
I'm not sure that's the right.
No, that's not the end of the round.
No.
I don't know who's doing the timekeeping now, but
we're having some minor timekeeping issues here tonight. We've had 2 inadvertent early bells. That's really a momentum killer. So here comes Moore again. Now she knows there's a minute left. She's going to let her hands go for sure. That's an opportunity here for the Butchers. Moore has been so dominant in this round. If you get a knockdown, even if it's one knee, that's 1 extra point in your favor because clearly she's won this round.
yeah, she had a little momentum going there. I think if that bell didn't ring,
Between the
and that
mouthpiece
didn't come out.
Moreau got a little bit of a break to get her legs back.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for the Butchers because they could have scored. They could have got a 10-8 round.
For that time, the bell's accurate.
I still got to question the time. It's
not
flying
sure,
by.
There's some of the replay action. You look at Amelia Moore just letting her hands go. Moreau trying to hold on to the back of her head the entire round. Man, but Moore is tough, Peter. She just fights right through it.
Yeah.
Here's one of the big ones we talked about in the open. These two have talked a lot of trash on social media leading up to this fight.
Well, we'll see what the talk does when they let the hands go.
Kadir Albright and Rashidi Ellis. Albright, one of the brightest.
That last round was scored 10-9 for Boston.
As expected, 10-9 Boston.
Score is 49-44 Philadelphia.
Albright, one of the rising prospects out of Philly. He's 10-1 with 10 wins by knockout. 6'1" righty against speedy Rashidi Ellis, who is undefeated in TCL.
Yep.
And these two are expected to go at it twice tonight.
Yep. It's good.
Ellis
Rashidi's already catching him.
Yeah, he's loving it.
Hit him with the right hand, left hook twice. He's right on him.
Ellis is having some fun.
Yeah,
He's
he is.
dancing. He's letting the tongue fly.
Yeah, he's just a little bit quicker than Albright.
Now, they don't call him Speedy for nothing. Now, Albright's got the big record, but he's been relatively untested as a pro. Comes in with a lot of hype. Ellis has been there and done that. You know that.
Well, the way Rashidi's landing those shots, this could be a good 10-8 round for the Butchers. He stays focused and doesn't stop, with the talking. He can let the hands go.
This is one of the ones that we circled on paper coming in. Albright is 5-2 in TCL combat this year. Ellis, of course, 5-0. Been one of the MVPs for the Butchers all season. He's gotten some big wins when they've needed him.
I mean, he's great.
Oh, another right
great
hand.
Team captain, composed, always sharp, always in shape.
No, I think you're right. He really is a captain in that sense. He's the veteran leader of this
Absolutely.
team, and he's had the most experience in the ring and the most success, really, out of a lot of these guys.
And he carries himself that way, too. Like a real pro.
Ellis
And
put in some work here, too.
He's outclassing Albright.
Absolutely.
Hitting him with the sharper punches. Control.
So if all things go well here, these last 60 seconds, Peter, it's a good swing for the Butchers.
Absolutely. You would think with the attributes that Albright has, tall, rangy, got the speed, you'd think he'd, beat Sheedy to the punch, but Sheedy's just too quick, too talented. He's slipping everything, he's getting off, moving his head, slip and rip.
Well, here's the thing. We know Rashidi Ellis' resume. He's 24-1 as a pro. In most cases, you're managing a 10-1 prospect. You're probably not putting him in with a 24-1 fighter in an 8 or 10 round fight.
Right.
So this is really learning on the job for Kadir Albright.
It's a very unique situation for Albright. It's going to raise his stock to go up there with a kid like Rashidi, especially if he makes it to the end of the round without getting stopped.
Ellis is having his way, like he's teaching the young man how to box on the job. 30 years of age against the 21-year-old Kadir Albright. 24-year-old, rather.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to pressure Albright.
No.
He's picking him apart right from that long range.
Final 10 seconds here.
He caught him there. He caught him. The leg shook a little bit. He was looking to the ref to maybe take a look at it. Nice
Ellis
job.
having fun, dancing
Nice
and
job.
loving it.
Class act. Way to win the round. That was a big momentum shift for the Butchers.
In this team concept, Peter, these guys are going to feed off that. They come into the next round and they want to carry the baton. Take a look at some of the replay action here.
Yeah, he's a dancer too. Those clean left hooks. Yeah, much sharper. That was the difference, the experience.
So Boston, slowly climbing their way back into it. It's now 58-54 after back-to-back victories for the Butchers. And now you got Jesse Hard Work Hart from Philly, 34 years of age. He is 31-3 as a pro, former NABF, USBA, and NABO super middleweight champion, against Steven Sumpter, who's been one of the pleasant bright spots for the Butchers as well. He was a midseason acquisition too, just like some of the others. Hart's 2-0 in TCL. And again,
I like Sumpter, big banger.
yeah,
He's built for this one round fight concept.
it's a good point, because some guys are built for this more than others. And while on paper this looks like a matchup that Hart should win, perhaps the format's better for Sumpter.
I think it is. Big back, big banger. He gets inside, closes the distance, he roughs him up. He's a lefty.
Sumpter really came onto the scene against the LA Elite here at the Royale a couple of weeks ago. Had 2 big wins for the Butchers in that matchup. One of those, again, mid-season additions with some of the big names that were out of the lineup for Boston. And now here comes Hart charging in.
Yeah, it looks like an even matchup. Hart got a little hot. He's coming forward. He's putting it on Sumpter.
Hart's a guy who's been there with some pretty good competition. Again, only 3 losses. 2 of those were to Gilberto Ramirez, both for the WBO world title, and one of them was a majority decision. So he's hung tough in world title bouts. But again, this format may not be for him.
Right.
Some guys are slow starters. They're used to those. And I think the more big fights you have, maybe the harder it is to adapt to this.
Right. Because you're used to that format, you're used to that tempo. This is a little bit faster. You're in, you're out. Some things that work in a 10-round fight, 8-round fight, they're not going to work here.
This is round 7 out of 8. Again, we have 2 more launch rounds to go, including the end of this round, and then we take a little short break and we get ready for the middle rounds, which if you want to watch that and the rest, you got to join us on Team Combat League TV and get your Brawl Pass. But with that said, the Butchers would love to steal a couple more here at the end and get this thing a lot closer than it looked like early on.
Yeah, something's laying back a little bit. I'd like to see him close the distance.
It'd be interesting to see how this one's scored.
But Hart's putting them, he's controlling that distance. He's using his jab. He's leaning away. He's not making it easy for Sumpter, that's for sure.
Sumpter's had to work hard against the taller Jesse Hart. Final 10 seconds here. This is round 7 of 8 in the launch rounds. All right, another one in the books. This one's close.
Yeah, I think Hart might have pulled that off. He controlled the distance. Maybe some cleaner shots. Output a little bit higher.
Now our heavyweights get inside the ring.
There we go.
Let's welcome the heavyweights to the ring and the last round of the last round from Philadelphia, Dawejko, and from Boston, Lacy. That last round was scored 10-9 for Boston.
We had Skyler at the gym last night shaking out, getting ready for today.
So the Butchers get one step closer with Steven Sumpter getting that win. Now it's 67-64. Not as daunting as it's seen before. Now you get the big heavyweights. Joey Dawejko, the tank, one of the tougher Philly guys. He's a throwback fighter if you've never seen him fight before.
He's like Tony Galento.
He really is. He's 5-1 this year in TCL, promoted by the great Russell Peltz out of Philadelphia. And Skyler Lacy now joining the team for the first time. Last year he was 7-1 with Las Vegas. Signed on board with the Butchers, who are in desperate need of heavyweights, so he perhaps could give them a decided edge at a much-needed weight class. This is kind of Dawejko's style here. He just charges in, he bullies his way in.
Dawejko's really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a real treat if you haven't seen him fight before. Dawejko, one of those throwback Philly guys where the record isn't really reflective of the ability. He's 28-11-4 as a pro. Been in the game for a long time. He's fought everybody you could fight in the heavyweight division, regionally, nationally, whatever the case may be. He's one of those guys where you just tell him where the fight is and what time, and he's there. And obviously, Lacy, as you can see, has a huge height advantage.
My father hung out with guys like that. They hung at the end of the bar. And they all had motorcycles outside, and they could fight. Joey looks like he could fit right in with those guys.
That's, anytime, any place, right? Halfway through this 8th round of the final round of the launch rounds. Boston's taken the last 3 to climb back in this. This did not look pretty not too long ago.
I hate to keep bringing up that Moore fight, but I'm thinking those points stolen away, that potential stoppage is going to be the difference.
Yeah, even an opportunity for a knockdown gets you 1 point closer, 10-8 over 10-9. Yeah. You start getting down the stretch and you add up and you think of all those points you may have left on the table.
They really count for something.
We'll see if Lacy can get him one step closer. If Boston goes into this one only down 2, that's a big advantage when they were down 6 at one point early in the launch rounds. Philly raced out to that big lead. They had the knockout there with Brittany Sims over Leash Pike. And it looked like they may run away with this thing. But as we've seen in the past, the momentum in TCL shifts so quickly.
Yeah. I think if Lacy can keep those hands going, he can outpoint Dawejko.
Final 30 seconds.
He's arguing with the referee. I don't know what they're fighting about, but you got to fight the guy in front of you.
You can't fight 2-on-1, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's probably built for it. Look at him.
Dawejko again burrowing his way in. That's not going to be a knockdown. That's a slip. There's the final bell.
I think Skyler went away with that one.
And if that's
Good
the
job,
case,
Dawejko.
well, that's another big one for the Butchers. If they can get another one back, Dawejko screaming into the crowd. Not quite sure what the beef was about, but there was a little contention there. We're going to find out what this final score was.
I've seen Jackie fight before, the ref, so I'm not worried about him. He can hold his own.
One of the Philadelphia Smoke fighters jumping into the ring. It's not quite ready for that yet. So there you have it. Skylar Lacy gets the victory in his Boston Butcher in 2024 debut. So now it's only a 2-point matchup, 76-74 in favor of the Smoke. And if you're Boston, you feel pretty good. You took the last 4 rounds of the launch rounds. You climbed right back into this thing. You were down 6 at one point after those first 2 rounds. It wasn't looking pretty. And you're probably thinking in your mind, here we go again. The Philadelphia Smoke are going to run away with another one. But that's not the case. All of a sudden, the Butchers have momentum going into the middle rounds.
Should be as high if you ask me.
Could very well be the case.
Going forward, how they stacked it up.
You see some of the action from the Amelia Moore fight. Later on, we'll get to that. This was Brittany Sims and Leash Pike. This one did not go well for Boston. Referee Arthur Mercanti stepped in there in the final 30 seconds and stopped it. And that ended up being the 10-7 round for the Smoke, the only knockout scored in the first 8 rounds of the night tonight. So that's where the big edge in the points comes from. Boston, for the most part, has hung in there against this undefeated team, and they've got some momentum going into these middle rounds. So we're going to see how that plays out. Now, with that said, we mentioned Skylar Lacy. We mentioned Skylar Lacy making his Boston Butcher debut as we take a look at some of our sponsors tonight. Woodcrafted American Two Trees Whiskey, Venom, the provider of all the gloves for Team Combat League. And so while we have some time, we want to send it back down to Ron Borges. Ron Borges, who had caught up earlier in the night with Skylar Lacy. We're going to hear what Lacy had to say. Let's kick it back down to the locker room in between rounds before we get ready for the middle rounds.
How's that?
Heavyweight. He was 7-1 last year in team combat, but he's been busy with his own professional career, and this is going to be his first fight this year in team combat. And when you got the call from Boston, were you surprised?
Not too surprised. I figured somebody was going to need a heavyweight coming on as the season goes on. But excited, and I was happy to get the call. I'm excited to be back.
Now, what did you think of the format last year? Because it's so different than what you're normally used to in a 10-round fight.
Exciting. First and foremost, it's exciting. It does take a second to get used to. But I've been through that. I already got used to it, and I'm excited to get back to it tonight.
How would you describe, your style and your approach in this kind of thing where you've only got 3 minutes to get your win?
I'm a boxer. I'm a boxer's head off. That's what I do. I'm not looking for too much of a knockout. If it comes, it comes. But I'm ready to go box somebody's head off.
And now, when you did it last year, obviously you did very well, 7-1. But did it take a period of adjustment for you to get used to how to fight in this situation as opposed to your normal fights?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. The first week, it's an acclimation process. After the first week, I would say I was pretty ready for what was coming my way. But it definitely takes a second to get used to.
That's Skylar Lacy, the newest addition to the Boston Butchers. They're 6'7", only once defeated heavyweights. They're happy to have them.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So that was a little bit about Skylar Lacy before things got started, and obviously he had a very big win over Joey Dawejko, who came into this matchup tonight 5-1 in TCL. That's only his second loss of the year. So Lacy pulls him one step closer. We now have a 2-point round. With that, we're going to go back down to Ron Borges, our ringside correspondent. He's on speaker with Rashidi Ellis, who had a big win also in the launch rounds.
Speedy Rashidi.
I had to come back strong, especially with him. You know, I was having fun because he was talking a lot of shit. So you know, I had to show Will a little bit, show him that he's not on my level. You know. But we ain't done yet. We gonna go back.
You managed to cut back into their big lead early on, and now you get to that money round. You're going to have Albright again. You know, it was a pretty hot prospect at this point in time, but you use a lot of your speed in that one. Will you change your approach?
It depends. I'm going to fill out the ring. It depends what he want to do.
What did you know anything about him going in? Because you look like you were pretty confident right from the start that your speed was better than his.
Nah, I didn't even know who he was. The only thing I saw was him posting some stuff on Instagram where he was walking like Chucky holding my head. I was like, I bet I'm gonna embarrass him when we get in there. And that's exactly what I did.
Social media is sometimes the worst thing that can happen to these young fighters. Now you're down a couple of points to your team. How do you approach that with the rest of your teammates? You're one of the older guys, more experienced guys. You take some responsibility for getting these younger guys going.
Yeah, they're tough. They're tough. A tough team. But we're definitely gonna come back. My team's gonna, regroup, talk about it, and we want to do what we have to do to get the victory.
So Rashidi Ellis from the Boston Butchers, he thinks they're coming back.
I know that. I know we are.
All right, there you have it. Rashidi Ellis giving his commentary on his big win over Kadir Albright in the launch rounds, and mentioning that there was some talk on social media between these two, and as Ron Borges eloquently stated, sometimes social media can be the worst thing for a young fighter. In any event, here we are at 76-74. How do you feel about the Butchers' chances now going forward?
I guess that's a perfect example of where talking can get you in trouble, right? So to keep it to yourself. I keep looking back on the stoppage, that premature stoppage by McTamney, and then the round Amelia Moore's fight, which could have been the difference maker. We could be looking at a tie score right now going into money round.
That's a very good point. If they don't stop the Amelia Moore fight, or rather the Leash Pike fight, that's a 10-9 round.
Right.
Maybe Moore gets a 10-7. That's a big point swing. And in a combat league like this where the scoring is often so close, that's a big difference. Now you go into the middle rounds, and we want to mention again, if you want to join us for the middle rounds, you head over to teamcombatleague.tv, you purchase your Brawl Pass, and you stay with us for the rest of the night because we've got 16 more exciting rounds and some new faces about to step in the ring here in the middle rounds. We got Shelly Vincent, Alejandro Paulino, Kino Luna, Stevie Jane Coleman, some of the familiar faces for the Butchers who will make their debut tonight in the middle rounds to try to keep the momentum going in Boston's favor. You mentioned what a fast start.
Boston, Massachusetts, who's ready for the middle round?
So we're about ready to go. With that, let's send it back down to Pat Sullivan. He's got our introductions.
Let's welcome the next fighters to the ring in the featherweight division. From Philadelphia, Giovanni Tellez. And for Boston, Michael Valentin.
All right, we want to thank you for those of us who are joining on Team Combat League TV. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch bringing you the middle rounds between the Philadelphia Smoke and the Boston Butchers.
Here we go, Mike. Looks like Valentin's starting off with that high guard. Still coming in as the smaller guy in the rounds.
Valentin took the loss in the opening bout of the evening against Rasheed Brown, so he's looking to get one back. But Tellez is very tough. Tellez making his season debut for the Philadelphia Smoke. And he comes in with a big pro record.
I can't say enough about these kids that come in. They're giving up weight.
Yeah.
Coming into the fight so that they can, support their team.
It's the second time that Valentin's been the undersized fighter in his matchup. Now, Tellez is 25 years old, from Nicaragua, 13-1 with 9 wins by knockout. This is a very, very tough matchup for Valentin, but an opportunity for the Smoke to try to get back in this and stem some of the tide from the launch rounds. Again, Boston on that 4-round win streak. They climb right back into this, but Tellez now bringing the pressure to Valentin.
You see Dawejko on the sideline there. There was a little extracurricular activity going on.
Yeah, a little bit of a scuffle. Not really sure who it was with, but we saw Dawejko doing a lot of yelling on the other side of the ring, and it appears things have calmed down. And now
camaraderie's building.
Sure.
The Boston-Philly camaraderie's already starting.
It's one of those classic East Coast rivalries.
There you go.
Tellez so far has gotten the better of Valentin. This is round 9 out of 24. Smoke trying to add to that 2-point lead. They're up 76-74. Tellez just bigger and faster right now, Peter.
Yeah.
And if you're Valentin, you got to get out of the corner in these last 50 seconds. You don't want to get stopped.
He's doing all he can do with that high guard to stay in it.
Now Valentin trying to work the body and come back upstairs.
Yeah, he's swinging away here, Valentin. Not holding back.
Well, if anything, Valentin will go down fighting. That much we know. Final 15 seconds here. The first of our 8 middle rounds. So far, it's been mostly Tellez. Again, a new addition to the Smoke roster. They've had some injury issues and some fighters who have other commitments, guys who've been knocked out, and these are some of the replacements coming in. And there is the bell. So good round for Tellez. And It appears that will stem the tide a little bit for Philadelphia to pad its lead.
Let's welcome the next fighters to the ring in the female featherweight division. From Philadelphia, Jacqueline McTamney, and from Boston, Shelly Vincent.
All right, Shelly Vincent, Jacqueline McTamney.
That last round was scored 10-9 for Philadelphia.
So Philly gets the 10-9 win in that round. We'll update the score momentarily. 86-83 overall for the Philadelphia Smoke. And now you've got Shelly Vincent, just 1-3 this year for TCL, taking on Jacqueline McTamney. And McTamney 3-1 overall. So
it's too close, Mike.
Yeah. We'll see what Vincent has left in the tank. McTamney's had a good season so far for Philly. I mean, really almost everybody for the Smoke has had a good year. When you're 4-0, you got a lot of good records on your side.
Shelly ain't backing away. She's getting right in her face.
That's kind of the Shelly Vincent of old that we're used to seeing in the prime of her career, where she's the aggressor and just throws a ton of punches. That's really been her style throughout. And that's what works best for her. And that's really what works best in this format, too, Peter.
Yeah, it's one round. If she can keep that up, full steam, bell to bell, then she come away with the win, get the team back up on the scoreboard.
We mentioned that last bout with Giovanni Tellez, who made his debut. He was replacing Angel Pizarro for the Smoke, who got knocked out in his last match. So that's a nice upgrade. They get a guy who comes in and gets a W, works to their advantage. So it's all about depth.
That's it.
Who you have in the reserve or in the bullpen waiting.
Yeah, you hate to see these kids getting injured. You know, you got to wonder, are there any teams out there that are overflowing with talent? You may want to sacrifice maybe to some guys sitting on the sidelines.
And those fighters do have the opportunity. Skylar Lacy being one of them. So he's an Indianapolis guy. Fought for Vegas last year. Now he's with Boston. So there's kind of a free agency vibe that goes on in this league.
Yeah, I think Boston could use a couple extra guys. If anybody's out there listening, wants to come to Boston, summertime, the beaches are great.
Peter Welch doing some recruiting for the Butchers.
Yeah, come right over to Southie. They'll get you into all the clubs.
Come down to your gym.
That's right.
Yeah. Final 45 seconds here. Shelly Vincent hanging tough with Jacqueline McTamney.
And Shelly's doing a good job putting the pressure on.
Oh!
There's a takedown.
Both fighters hit the deck. Arthur Mercanti all over it. Final 30 seconds here. Been a very close round. Shelly definitely has been the aggressor.
Yep.
Just depends on how the judges score it. Nice right hand there by Vincent. I think Shelly may have squeaked this one out.
Yeah, effective aggression. Is that what they're looking at?
And this would be a big win. Her coming in at 1-3 and McTamney coming in at 3-1 on paper. Looked like it might be another victory for the Smoke, but I think Vincent may have pulled this one out. We'll see what the scorecards have to say.
I'd have to agree.
Let's welcome the next boxers to the ring in the lightweight division for Philadelphia, Nahir Albright, and for Boston, Alejandro Paulino. That last round scored 10-9 for Philadelphia.
Well, the judges had it differently than we did. McTamney gets the round. Now the Smoke have a 96-92 edge. So slowly but surely, Philly.
Current score is Philadelphia 98, Boston 96.
Philly building its lead back up. It's now 96-92.
I think the heavyweight's still ringside. He's scaring all the referees and judges.
Dawejko just kind of planting himself in the corner, watching all the action. Alejandro Paulino and Nahir Albright. Two very good prospects. Albright a little bit further along in his career. The brother of Kadir Albright, who we saw earlier.
Yeah, they can fight. They're talented kids.
Now Paulino comes in at 3-1 this season. Albright also 3-1, so a very big swing bout. Now Paulino's the younger fighter. He's got the unbeaten record.
See where that grabbing and pushing down can work to their favor. The referee's not calling it. It does nothing but throw Paulino off.
Worth mentioning that Albright as a pro is 16-2, 7 wins by knockout. And one of his 2 losses was against Jermaine Ortiz, local fighter from this neck of the woods. Yep. That was a big matchup on Showbox a couple of years back. But Albright comes to fight. He's tough. The Philly guy, and they always have that reputation of being tough. But Paulino, so far, been very aggressive. This is one that Boston really needs and wants. They don't want this to continue to spiral. They're already down 4. And one more round, you're at the exact halfway point for the night. And you really have to start to reassess at that point.
Now, Paulino's putting them together nice. He's keeping up with Albright. Nothing really stands out, although right there with Albright, he's setting that right hand up nice.
1 minute to go here.
Here's a big shot by Paulino. Just missed.
Michael Parenti and Peter Welch bringing you the action with our ringside correspondent Ron Borges, and we're in the middle of another banger right here between Paulino and Albright. And Albright hits the canvas. Paulino with a big knockdown. And if Albright can get up,
yeah, he's all done.
He may be done.
That's it. If he's going to wave off the girl, he's got to wave this off.
Albright took some time getting up, and there's still 30 seconds, so this could be the difference here, Peter, between a 10-7 or a 10-8.
He's gone.
Let's see if Paulino can close out this round. This would really get Boston back into it.
Come on. Put them together, baby.
Albright stunned. You know he's hurt. Paulino trying to lay it on the line here and get the stoppage. 10 seconds to go. Arthur McCanty keeping a close eye on it. If Albright just hangs on here, at worst it's 10-8. And that's where it looks like it's going to go. So Paulino, in any event, scores a big knockdown, and that's huge for Boston.
Yeah, they get the win. They get the extra points.
So with that, Boston now pulls to within 2 of the smoke. Just what they needed at the right time. Take a look at the replay here, Peter.
I like how Paulino, he's consistent with every fight that he's fought in this. Gets his punches off, he slides over to the right, and catches his guys clean. He does it consistently. So you're going to see that as a trend for Paulino.
That short left hook that sent Albright to the canvas, and for a minute I thought he might not get up. But just by getting up and getting to his feet, he saves his team a point. So it's now, as we see.
For Boston.
Could have been a 10-7, huh?
All right, so it's 104-102 smoke. The Butchers climb right back in it with that big round for Alejandro Paulino. That's his 4th win in TCL this year.
Big win for Paulino.
And right now you got Kino Luna and Donjay Teasley. Teasley for the smoke making his season debut. 10-0 as a pro, just 25 years of age. Taking on Kino Luna, who comes in at 3-1 with TCL. So it's been a very good format for Luna. We talked about that big win he had against the LA Elite in the final round of the match to give the Butchers a draw. That saved them from a loss.
What a shot that was.
Luna looks aggressive. Yeah. He's coming in.
Getting hit with clean shots is Rodriguez.
Reminder, this is the wrong Chiron at the bottom here. This is Kino Luna and Donjay Teasley. We have female welterweights coming up next with Stevie Jane Coleman and Shamara Woods. Right now, Boston trying to just inch one step closer. Seems like whenever Philly starts to pull away a little bit, or appears they're going to pull away, Boston climbs right back into it. And this is the halfway point here. So after this is round number 12 out of 24 total. We'll get a real good picture of where we are going into the second half of the entire matchup.
You got to wonder, too, how the coaches are stacking their opponents.
Yes.
Stacking their guys.
Luna with a knockdown. That is huge for the Butchers. And that's going to be at least another 10-8.
I think he's all right. I don't think he's hurt.
Looks like he should be able to finish it out. He dropped him big time. That's back-to-back rounds with knockdowns for the Butchers. And by all accounts, that's going to even the score unless Luna can get the knockout. So the tide is beginning to turn for the Butchers here in Boston.
A little bit anxious. Got to settle down a little bit, this Luna. Stay relaxed.
You know he wants to finish this one out in style. Another big left hand by Luna. And there's the bell. So another big round for the Boston Butchers. Things getting a little chippy here in the middle of the ring between both combatants. Arthur Mercante trying to settle things down. But back to the action. Take a look at the replay here, Peter, from this last round. Or perhaps not. There we go.
Luna's finding a home with that left hand. He sneaks one in, drops him, buzzes him.
Went right through the ropes and almost out of the ring.
Fighters to the ring in the female welterweight division from Philadelphia, Shamara Woods, and for Boston, Stevie J. Coleman. Last round score 10-8 for Boston. The current score is now 114 to 112. Boston.
So the Butchers get another 10-8 round. The score's been announced as 114-112 Boston. I'm not sure if the math is adding up, but we'll get a check on that in a minute. In any event here, it's Stevie Jane Coleman taking on Shamara Woods. Coleman looking for her first win in TCL combat.
That's a hometown score. Hip banger.
These two coming to fight. Shamara Woods looking to get back in the W column as well. She's 2-4 overall this season. And now this is an example of a fighter where the platform has not been kind to her. Woods is 7-0 as a pro. She's had a great start to her professional career, but TCL's been a little bit of a hiccup for her for whatever reason. And it could be a lot of things, but it's really hard to always say. But here comes Coleman.
And Stevie's got to look out for that left hook coming back. She's dropping that right hand.
Coleman trying to keep the momentum going for the Butchers, who've scored 10-8 rounds in each of the last two. Coleman already got a bloody nose in this round.
It's good. She's backing her up. It's good. Keep that power away.
Well, that's what you want to see, and sometimes, depending on what the judges prefer, the fighter that comes forward tends to get the benefit of a doubt in a close round.
I like it, too, if you got a big puncher like Woods. If you got her going back, she's not able to load up that power. Keeps her safe.
Coleman looking sharp against Woods.
She's looking good.
As you mentioned, keeping her backpedaling this entire round.
I think Wood hit her with her best, didn't move her, and that got her boxing now, backing up a little bit.
Final minute of this round. Starting to get to the stretch run here of the middle rounds. And again, you're watching us on Team Combat League TV. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch. We're in week 8 of season 2 of TCL. And despite the bloody mess that is Stevie Jane Coleman, she's had a very good round.
Yeah, she has. I was a little concerned at first with Woods, the way she was loading up those shots. But Stevie seemed to manage it and stop walking her down, take those shots away. She just ate one there, but she's coming forward.
And we'll see if Coleman's done enough to impress the judges.
That's what I was just going to say. It makes a huge impression on the judges when she walks down and she's landing shots like that.
Great action in the final 10 seconds. So Woods and Coleman gave you your money's worth here in this round. It'll be very interesting to see how the judges have it. Yeah, I think Coleman did enough there, even despite the fact that she got bloodied and beat up in that round. I think she landed the better punches throughout and was the aggressor.
Fighters to the ring. From Philadelphia, Francisco Rodriguez. And for Boston, Elijah Peso.
He's Elijah again.
That last round scored 10-9 for Boston.
So that's 3 in a row for Boston. Now Elijah Peso back at it for the second time tonight, taking on a new opponent, Francisco Rodriguez, who's making his 2024 season debut.
See if they adjusted the score, Mike.
Rodriguez 4-0 as a pro with 4 knockouts, tough southpaw from Philly. And we are awaiting the overall score, hopefully any minute now. See where this matchup stands. What we do, that's a little bit, that's a good body shot there by Rodriguez.
This kid's winging him.
But what we do know is Boston's won the last 3 rounds in the middle portion of the middle rounds. So the Butchers, again, going on a streak like they did at the end of the launch rounds, winning their last 4. And that includes 2 10-8 rounds. They've really chopped away at that lead.
This kid's really loading up. That's it. Raj, you got to keep him on the run. That's what he's got to do. Keep him on the run. Keep pressing. Don't let him set up.
Rodriguez is tough. Very fast hands.
Got some pop, too.
Peso, as you remember, in the launch rounds, had that big win in the 3rd round against Avery Sparrow. That got the Butchers on the board and stemmed some of that tide that the Smoke felt they had going in their favor. Trying to do the same and now keep the momentum going in Boston's favor. It's been a tough round, though. Right now, you feel like Rodriguez may be with a slight edge here.
A little bit. Cleaner, sharper punches. Looks a little bit stronger.
Yeah. We're about to see the season debut of Elvin Ayala, former world title challenger from New Haven, Connecticut. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, looking forward to that, too.
But right now, it's Elijah Peso and Francisco Rodriguez. Round number 15. 1 more to go in the middle rounds before we get to the money rounds.
Money rounds,
yeah. That's the big stuff there. Big right hand by Rodriguez.
I'm afraid of that right hand. Putting something on those shots.
Yeah, he's starting to land cleanly now.
Get in there. Close on. Clinch.
Yeah. Peso really needs to clinch, as you said. Hang on here and don't take an unexpected or unnecessary knockdown or knockout.
It's too tough for his own good. He's going to stand like a man and throw it down to the end.
It's hard, right? It's hard to tell a fighter to change, right? You come in with that killer instinct, another big right hand. Peso's a little bit wobbly.
Jackie's going to let him go. Good job.
The clock was not on Rodriguez's side, but that's a big round for Francisco Rodriguez. That's going to be an easy W for Philly. Take a look at some of the action here.
Wow, he was hitting him some hard shots, doubling up that right hand. Jeez.
Let's welcome the next fighters to the ring in the light heavyweight division. From Philadelphia, Ray Robinson. And for Boston,
Here we go, Elvin Ayala, Ray Robinson.
That last round scored 10-9 The current score is 133 to 131, Boston.
33-31.
So the score has been announced as 133-131 Boston. The Butchers have the lead over the unbeaten Smoke. And now we have Elvin Ayala, 43 years of age, has not fought since 2021, taking on the new Ray Robinson out of Philadelphia. Robinson also, before the TCL platform, had been inactive since 2022. The former two-time NABO and a USBA welterweight champion, 5'10" southpaw out of Philly. I remember him a decade ago when he was first coming up. Tough competitor. You got to wonder what Ayala has left in the tank. The last-minute addition here with a couple of those light heavyweights inactive for the Butchers. They needed some bodies, and so Ayala up to the task. But you never know how long a guy's been in the gym for, if he's been in the gym at all.
The fighters always think they got one more left when he's stepping up.
I would say Ayala does not look as quick as we remember him.
Right.
Robinson, also 38 years of age. You're talking two veterans who really had their primes in those early 2010, 2011, 2012 era. Ayala's the guy who has some big fights against Arthur Abraham, Curtis Stevens. Been in there with some of the best in his weight class during the prime of his career.
I don't know if he's having trouble with his shoes.
Yeah, his footing just looks off. With the
feet.
The footwork looks very awkward.
Something's going on.
Kind of looks like he's on ice skates. But Robinson really hasn't landed clearly enough. There's a big right hand, though, just as I mentioned by Robinson. And now Ayala is in some trouble. And this is not what you want if you're the Butchers. And this is one of those matchups on paper where the Smoke feel they could maybe climb back into it, down 2 points.
Oh, he got one right behind the ear.
Ayala snuck one in there. And Robinson so far has had the better of this matchup. Robinson just 3-4 this year, so he's looking to get a big W here for his team and stem some of that tide.
Ayala ain't lying down. He's still throwing.
He looks very awkward, but he's hanging in there.
There's something with the shoes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's his legs. It's the shoes are sliding out.
Robinson now has Ayala in a corner. 35 seconds to go in the round. Big left hand there by Robinson. You know he's looking for the knockout, which at this stage is exactly what Philly needs. Robinson lands 2 more big shots.
Big shot. Ayala stuck in a quick left hook, using the ropes to throw his punches. That's an old veteran right there.
Yes, it sure is. Final 10 seconds. Ray Robinson's been in complete control. Yeah, something's not right with Ayala's footing. But the bell rings and Ayala survives.
Someone put Vaseline on it.
Here's some of the action from this last round. Ray Robinson really just bringing it to Elvin Ayala. Truly from the opening bell, this was all Ray Robinson. So by all accounts, that's going to be another 10-9 round as we see the heavyweights get back in there. Skylar Lacy and Kanja Nathan.
So we don't get Joey again?
We do not get Joey again.
The next fighters to the ring and the last round of the middle round in the heavyweight division for Philadelphia, Kanja Nathan, and for Boston, Skylar Lacy. That last round was scored 10-9 for Philadelphia. And the current score is 142 to 141 Boston.
Big round here, Peter. This is the last round of the middle rounds. If the Butchers get it, they have a 2-point edge going into the money rounds. If the Smoke get it, it's all even going into the final 8. Now, Kanja Nathan last year boxed for New York City, and he handed Skylar Lacy his only loss of 2023. So you know Lacy has redemption on his mind. Mm-hmm. He won the first round, or his first fight, I should say, tonight against Joey Dawejko, looking to make it 2-0. That runs his record to 8-1 all time in TCL. So this platform has been very kind to Skylar Lacy. But Kanja Nathan knows the secret sauce to beating Skylar Lacy, if you will. Oh, big right hand by Nathan. He caught Lacy napping a bit there.
Yeah, he did. Found a home for that overhand. going to keep going for that.
What those shorter heavyweights have to do is kind of launch from the hip and come swinging with those big overhands, and he caught Lacy pretty good with that one. Nathan has a big opportunity to give the Smoke momentum going into the money rounds and draw this one even on the scorecard. Big right hand that time, though, by Lacy.
Nathan's going to keep applying that pressure. Look to load up. Look to land that bomb. That little shuffle step he uses to come in and close the distance and put the pressure on Lacy. Well, Lacy catch him with that uppercut on the way in.
That's a great weapon against the shorter opponent who you know has to burrow his way in. Big right hand there by Nathan against the ropes.
He's got it right there. He just won't throw it. That's a nice shot to the body. If you can land that uppercut, finish with the left hook, you can back Nathan off a little bit.
Nathan 4-3 this year for Philly. Big round. This is the final round of the middle rounds.
There you go.
1 minute to go. It's been a very close round. It seems like every fighter's answered the other.
They've favored the Philly Smoke in the decisions. You know, if they're more favorable, the style is more favorable to the judges.
Well, that could very well be the case, and I think a team can pick up on that.
Yeah.
Right? Pick up on that trend over the course of a long night like this and maybe adjust accordingly. With 30 seconds to go, and I think this is still anybody's round.
There you go. Protect yourself at all times. Talk all you want, but the punches are going to win the fight. I think he's got his redemption here, Mike. What do you think?
I think these final 30 seconds have possibly been the difference maker for Lacy. And a couple of right hands.
Jackie's going to let him go. Jackie will let him go.
You know Lacy wanted this one badly as he ducks through the ropes.
In the ring, out of the ring.
Referee losing control here. Lacy can't even get back into the ring, but the bell does ring here. And so that's the end of that round. Lacy halfway out of the ring in the end. And if I had to guess, I'd give that one to Skylar Lacy. And that's a big one. And we talked about the need for a big heavyweight for the Butchers. This may very well be 2-0 tonight. 2 big points coming out of that heavyweight division for the Butchers. And it appears they could take a 2-point edge going into the money rounds, which is huge.
Pulled it off in the end there, Mike.
I think so, too. We're about to find out as we await the decision. And then we can start talking strategy.
10-9 for Boston.
There it is. That's a big one.
152 to 150 going into the money rounds. They do it the round in just 5 minutes.
So there we have it. Boston, who at one point was down by 6 points in this match, now has a 2-point edge going into the money rounds. So the Butchers have climbed back into this one quickly and suddenly now have the edge going into the final 8 rounds. And now we can start talking some strategy, Peter, and thinking about who is going to have that decided edge. Now, we thought there were going to be some changes to the scorecard or to the last 8 matchups. We'll take a quick look at some of the action early on here. Mike Valentin kicked things off against Giovanni Tellez. Tellez got the W and started to get Philly off on the right foot.
Now, Valentin's a tough customer, this kid. He really hangs in there.
You see Shelly Vincent and Jacqueline McTamney. Big win for Vincent tonight. Alejandro Paulino, who really got things going with the knockdown against the hair Albright. And that's what started to jumpstart that resurgence for the Butchers. Paulino had that late knockdown, almost had the stoppage. There's that knockdown. There's that replay.
Wow. That's Paulino sliding over. He likes to just slide over and let those punches go. It's like a magic formula for him.
And then here you had Kino Luna in his fight against Andre Teasley, knocking Teasley through the ropes. So the Butchers had back-to-back 10-8s, a big 4-point swing that put them ahead, and that's where they've stayed thus far. Philly climbed back into it. Francisco Rodriguez had that big win over Elijah Peso, and we're about to see momentarily Ray Robinson, who had the big win over Elvin Ayala. We'll see those highlights.
Rodriguez.
Yeah, and here's Ray Robinson in his matchup against Elvin Ayala, who just looked a little bit overmatched and perhaps not fully ready for this investment.
Right.
And here's Skylar Lacy and Conja Nathan in a big rematch from last year in TCL. Lacy getting the W, and that was big going forward, Peter, because now Boston has a 2-point edge instead of this matchup being tied. Looking forward to the money rounds. If these matchups stay the same on paper, here's a big one to start things off. Brittany Sims and Leash Pike. Sims really took it to Pike the first time. We know Pike is out. She was knocked out.
Right.
So now what happens there most likely is the automatic point going toward Brittany Sims in the Smoke.
Right.
So by all accounts, without a replacement fighter, the Smoke are going to get at least 1 point back, which is why that last point was so big for Boston. And then you go down the line, Amelia Moore, Alejandro Paulino, Rashili Ellis, some of the big names for the Butchers are going to get back in there in the money rounds. And this is really early on where you want to get that separation of your Boston. That back-to-back-to-back of Moore, Paulino, and Rashili Ellis could be the difference maker tonight.
Right. And that's double jeopardy when you lose a fighter to a knockout.
Sure.
You don't have them for the next round.
And that's where that factors in. When you have a thin roster where you're a little bit behind the 8 ball, you need everybody to get through clean the first time just to get them in the ring for the second opportunity. So how that now turns out is Sims gets the automatic victory. That's 4 points in the bank for Brittany Sims just in that weight class alone. And that's going to play a big factor because we know this is such a close, tight-knit matchup. It's only a 2-point edge going into the money rounds. We want to thank everybody for joining us tonight here on Team Combat League TV. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch. We're about to get ready for these final 8 rounds. We take a look at some of our sponsors that we want to thank tonight. Adams Boxing, which provides all the footwear for the fighters. Venom Boxing Gloves, and of course, Two Trees American Whiskey, bringing you the finest distilled whiskey. Our key sponsors here, bringing you all the TCL action. And again, it's worth mentioning the ebbs and flows that go down. Philly's kind of in a tough spot that they really haven't been in all year. Now you get a chance, Peter, to see how battle-tested this team is. They really haven't trailed much all season.
Right. The rosters are getting thin.
And I think that I think you're right, Peter. That's going to play a factor late in the season here in TCL as fighters get injured or fighters have other commitments. You're going to see the true depth of these teams and what reservoir can they draw from to fill their rosters going forward.
Well, you see Lacy coming in from Vegas. Maybe there's some other kids out there that that they can pull in.
Now, typically, the Philly team draws from that New Jersey area, obviously Philadelphia, all of Pennsylvania. Reading, Pennsylvania, as you know, is a very big boxing community on the pro side. And, of course,
where's Joey from?
Joey is from, he's also from Philadelphia.
Okay.
True throwback guy. And, in most of the Philly roster, unlike what we saw with the Los Angeles Elite, if you remember that matchup, Los Angeles had a lot of international fighters.
Right.
These Philly Smoke fighters are all from Philly, New Jersey, New York. They're really all in that area. And I think that builds camaraderie.
Yeah, absolutely. Pride, camaraderie.
Pride is such that's an underrated word because you want to show out for your city and for the team that you represent. If you're from there, you have more of a natural connection to that team. And that's what you see from Philly, and it's mostly what you've seen from the Boston Butchers.
I see that a lot in the Butchers, yeah.
I do too. And now whether they make Skylar Lacy an honorary Butcher, I think with his performance tonight, he's now one of the guys.
Right.
He got 2 big points tonight for the Butchers and helps them take that 2-point edge going into the final round. So very excited to see how this one turns out. We have a 2-point matchup. Elvin Ayala is scheduled to go one more time against Jesse Hart. That's going to be one to keep an eye on as well. With that said, we're just about ready for the money rounds. We're going to send it down to Pat Sullivan. He's our ring announcer. He's going to introduce the combatants, and we're just about ready for the action. Stay tuned here on Team Combat League TV. Don't go anywhere. This is where it gets good. So once again, everybody joining us to reset the action. Boston automatically loses a point in what was supposed to be the first money round fight. Leash Pike unable to fight again after getting knocked out. So now it's 161-160 in favor of Boston. And this is a big one here, Peter. Amelia Moore has yet to lose in TCL. She's already beating Moreau twice tonight. This is a big matchup. This is one that the Butchers really need.
It's a great way to start the action for the money round.
Absolutely. Put one of your best fighters out there, and really 3 of your best in a row with Paulino on deck and Rashidi Ellis in the hold. But you got to go out there and win it. And I'm sure that Shariah Moreau's made some adjustments after what she saw the first time around against Amelia Moore. What does she need to do differently?
It's crazy to see how Amelia's calculating the adjustment and the changes that Moreau has made, and she's fighting a little different. So she's staying on the outside. She's using the feints more and controlling the distance more is. She's not giving anything up. She's forcing Moreau to really take a risk.
You're right. Moreau's really the desperate one here. She already lost the first time. She needs to get this point. This could even things up, but here comes Moore.
She really knows how to control that distance. Moore does. She's picking the punches off. She really found a hole for that right hand early in the first fight. And she's just picking up where she left off.
You can't stress enough how this TCL platform has really benefited Amelia Moore. And she has been one of the bright spots for the Boston Butchers. 5-0 already, trying to make it 6-0, and trying to get 2 big wins over Shariah Moreau.
Let's get that stoppage now. Make up for those points.
This next one on deck here between Francisco Rodriguez and Alejandro Paulino could be a showstopper, but before we get to that, we still have 30 seconds or so between Amelia Moore and Shariah Moreau. And you start to play that matchup game down the stretch. You look at some of the names on paper. If you're Boston, you really want to load up early here in these money rounds.
Not a lot of time left. If Moore's going to get that stop, but she got to make her move now.
And it might not be in the cards, but in any event here, she's done enough, in my estimation, to get the round. And that would make her 6-0 this season, and that would give Boston a 2-point edge after losing the first round. And there's the bell.
I think she realized she needed more time, a couple more rounds to stop her, so he's happy with the win.
Take a look at some of the action. Amelia Moore really turning it on in the middle of that round.
For Philadelphia, Francisco Rodriguez, and for Boston, Alejandro Paulino.
It's a tough fight for Paulino.
This is a good one here, Peter. Francisco Rodriguez.
For Boston, we currently have a high score at 169.
We were up, weren't we?
I'm a little confused on the scoring. So according to the scorekeeper, it's now 169 apiece between the Smoke and the Butchers. And we have Alejandro Paulino and Francisco Rodriguez, both who won their first fights of the night. Rodriguez had the win over Elijah Peso.
Maybe they were making up for the lost points early on because the scoring was off a little bit.
Not quite sure, but we'll get some more information on that. In any event here, we have a dead even score with
Hard
6 fights to go. Yeah,
trying to keep up with the fights and the score. It's like we're playing 2 games at once.
Rodriguez, tough young southpaw prospect from Philly, taking on the unbeaten Paulino. Between the two of them, neither have lost as a pro. This is a big swing bout right here. Because on paper, this is pretty even, and you're not really sure how it's going to go.
Look for Paulino to step over and sneak that right hand in on the inside and get those exchanges. It was a slick move by Rodriguez.
He fights really well on angles. He spins out quickly from his opponent. Now we're going to get a timeout.
Now he's got to let them go. It's one round. Let him fight. Let's go.
Time's not on your side in TCL. You got to get every second you can.
Shot. Rodriguez got caught. He got caught again. Paulino's doing a good job.
So 30 seconds to go here. We got a little bit of an explanation on the scoring, Peter. Apparently they reversed the 10-7 that Brittany Sims had over Leash Pike in the first match of the night. That's now been scored at 10-9, and that's why we are where we are with the score. But in any event, Pike could not continue because she broke her nose. So instead of 10-7, it was 10-9. They announced that they should not have stopped that fight. It's very interesting scoring. So it kind of threw off the scoring all night. And now Paulino with a big knockdown.
That's a true test for Paulino to drop this kid Rodriguez.
Oh, what a huge knockdown for Paulino. Just what the Butchers needed in a dead heat with only 6 fights to go. They're going to get a 10-8 round. And there's the bell. So right at the bell, Alejandro Paulino scores a huge knockdown. That's going to give Boston a 2-point edge.
Remember, Canty saved the kid from potentially getting stopped, which is a good thing. Now the kid can fight another day, and the Butchers get the win. It's right here. So this is a rematch, right, Mike?
This sure is. And now if you're Boston, you feel pretty good. You got a 10-8, and now you get Rashidi Ellis, who completely outclassed Kadir Albright the first time. You're looking at the possibility of having a 3-point lead with 4 fights to go. This is exactly what Boston wants. And as we said, you want to stack up your wins 3 in a row with your 3 best fighters. So far, Amelia Moore did the job. Paulino went above and beyond to get the 10-8. And now you got Ellis and Kadir Albright again. However, lurking on deck, Elvin Ayala going at it a second time, and he did not look good the first time. So anything's possible.
Rashidi's got to win big here.
You really need Ellis to get a big win or just at least get the W, get a little bit of a cushion with 4 rounds to go. It's going to make it a very uphill battle for Philly.
Double with that right hand.
And you got to wonder on paper here. Let's just say hypothetically. Let's play the hypothetical game. If Ellis gets another 10-9, Philly's down 3 with Jesse Hart against Ayala. Is Hart going for broke trying to get a stoppage, seeing what he saw the first time from Ayala?
It's a tough call, man.
Yeah. You may have to abandon what you think's a good game plan to get what you need at that moment. Or at least try to.
And Rashidi's picking up where he left off the last round.
Ellis has had Albright's number.
Looking smooth. Yeah, he's missing by a mile.
Yeah, Albright really getting a real-time boxing lesson tonight.
He sure is.
Against Rashidi Ellis, who's looking to give the Butchers a 3-point edge. And again, we explained that scoring discrepancy and why you saw such a difference in scores. That first fight of the night in the launch rounds was reversed to a 10-9, not a 10-7 in favor of Philly, and that's why we are where we are.
Either way you slice it, it's still close.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think in the moment, if the referee stopped it, he stopped it. That's a very slippery slope to go down when you're reversing decisions on the fly. But in any event, here's where we are. Ellis trying to close this one out. Ellis trying to improve to 7-0. He's 6-0, including tonight's win in the first round, or in the launch rounds, rather.
It doesn't affect the fighter, but it affects the scoring.
Absolutely. You're right, because Alicia Pike still has a broken nose regardless.
shoot he's hitting Albright with the sharper punches. He's got control.
Yeah. It's looking very good for Ellis.
Bad shots he's taking.
Albright talked a lot coming into this and has not lived up to the billing. And if anything, he may have ticked off Ellis even more. I think Ellis came here with a point to prove tonight. And he's proven it. Final 10 seconds. Michael Parenti and Peter Welch bringing you all the action from the Royale Team Combat League. And there's the bell.
Well, Albright likely didn't get the win, but
No.
he showed he could take a beating. He can
went
talk
in there
and take a beating.
For sure. He hung in there, and I think he probably learned a lot going forward tonight as you take a look at some of the replay action. And I'm going to reiterate this again as we go into this next fight. Alvin Ayala.
Oh, he's got new shoes on. Look at that.
I think you're onto something, Peter.
Yeah, the shoes. Got to be the shoes, money.
That's what Spike Lee said. So now Philly really has its back against the wall. They're down 3 points with 4 rounds to go. They're going to need something big, and maybe this is their chance to get it. I didn't think Ayala looked good at all. I thought he was on thin ice the first time, and maybe it was the shoes, maybe not the shoes.
He did land a couple of decent shots, but his feet went under him. So I'm wondering if the shoes now are going to make a difference for him.
He still looks a little awkward, but he's landing a little bit better here against Ray Robinson. This is a big opportunity. If the Phillies smoke, probably think on paper this is their best shot to get a knockdown or a knockout. Otherwise, they're going to have to win every round going forward to take this.
He's doing better now, Mike.
But again, this goes into the strategy. You have to start thinking about, it's like in baseball, we need a home run. You don't want to try to hit a home run, but sometimes you have to. And in this case, you may have to try to get a knockdown. You maybe got to come out and empty the barrel. I think that's what Ray Robinson has to do here. Alvin Ayala has been inactive for 4 years. He's 43 years old. If you're Boston, the best you hope for is just don't get knocked down, don't get stopped. Ray Robinson really has to, I think, pick up the pace here. It's desperation time. They're down 3. They've only got 4 rounds to go.
The right-hand lead found a home for Ayala.
Definitely looking a little bit better here, though. I mean, maybe that footwork and the shoes were a problem. 1:40 to go. And the reality is that maybe Ray Robinson just doesn't really, have that left in the tank. Robinson just kind of pawing at Ayala. I would say he's winning the round, but you really need some decisive wins somewhere down the stretch here.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, this was supposed to be Jesse Hart against Alvin Ayala. We're not sure why there was a switch. If you're Philly, you probably would have preferred Hart out there. But there's probably something we don't know and what led to that decision. But Robinson's starting to open things up a little bit against Ayala. Nice left hand there by Robinson. Just under a minute to go, a lot of time.
Ayala's doing all he can just to survive here.
And you just want him to, if you're a Boston, just stay on your feet. You can't let Philly take a huge chunk of that lead away.
His coaches are urging him on, Ayala, to keep coming forward.
Maybe just clinch if you can. Another hard shot there by Robinson. Ayala's taking a bit of a beating here in these final seconds, but it looks like he's going to do just enough to hang in and stay on his feet. And there's the bell.
Good job.
So Ray Robinson, big round for him, big round for Philly. It's exactly what they needed.
What all this dialogue is with the referees. These guys are talking to referees.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering what Robinson's complaint might have been there at the end.
198 and Philadelphia 196.
So here we go. Philly now only down 2, 3 rounds to go. They're going to need Shamara Woods.
This
to
a rematch
possibly get
again,
this
Mike?
one. This is a rematch that CBJ and Coleman won the first time.
Yeah.
It's not an intergender match, despite what this Chiron may tell you. It's Stevie Jane Coleman taking on Shamara Woods. And Woods bloodied Coleman in that first time, but Coleman just had the better round, and she got the win, deservedly so, on the scorecard. So for Coleman, you hope it's more of the same. If you're Woods, you want to come out and bring that pressure that at least let you draw blood the first time, and maybe a little bit more.
Woods starts off hard, fast. But she faded a little bit, just enough for Stevie Jane to slip in there and impose her will on her.
Looks like that bloody nose leaking again for Stevie Jane Coleman. Shamara Woods would love to steal one and get Philly even closer with 2 rounds to go, and that makes it a little less of a daunting task. And for the Butchers, if Coleman gets the win, now you put Philly down 3 with 2 rounds to go, which means that Philly at some point has to get a knockdown or a knockout to avoid the loss. So it's a big one right here for both teams. And it's been very close. I think a lot closer than the first matchup.
Yeah, she's letting Woods get off a little bit.
Yeah.
She's not walking her down like she was in the first round.
A lot of time left in this round. Be very interesting to see how the rest of this plays out. Nice little left hand snuck in there by Woods, but a big left followed up by Coleman.
Keep walking, keep walking. There you go. That's it. She caught her with that right hand cold.
The action's starting to pick up here.
That was the turn right there when she caught her with that right hand.
Woods has definitely been more aggressive second time around.
Yeah, she has.
Whether it's enough to win on the cards remains to be seen. Coleman again, a bloody mess. Oh, this is one that the Philly Smoke really need. I love the camaraderie. I love seeing the teammates in the corner.
Paulino's urging her on to walk her down. You see Paulino telling her to walk forward and punch.
20 seconds to go. We are in the heart of the money rounds. We're getting our money's worth here on Team Combat League TV. Nice right hand by Coleman.
That's the difference right there. That's it.
And Woods fights
keep
back.
Punching and keep landing.
And now here comes Shamara Woods.
Came right back.
Yeah.
Too close to call, Mike.
This is a tough one here. This is really going to be on the judges. However they score this one could really go a long way in determining who wins outright in the end.
Yeah, that was a good fight.
Very good matchup.
Good round.
CB Jane Coleman and Shamara Woods. Here's some replay action.
Yeah, you could call it a fight, even though it's only a round, because they're giving it everything they got. Tough one.
Oh! So a huge round for the Boston Butchers. They get the 10-9. They now lead by 3 with only 2 rounds to go. So by all accounts, the Smoke are going to need a combination of things to happen as Isaiah Johnson gets set to take on Kino Luna. A knockdown in a 10-9 round would make it a draw. A knockout somewhere in the next 2 rounds, and the Smoke keep their unbeaten record intact. For the Butchers, they get one more win. They go home with the victory, and it could very well be right here. Kino Luna had the big 10-8 victory the first time around. Isaiah Johnson had the win over Jalen Renard in the launch round. So and two guys looking for their second win.
And Luna fought Albright?
Luna fought
the other Albright?
No, he fought Thonjay Teasley, knocked him down, got the 10-8 round. That was a big momentum swing during those middle rounds for the Butchers. So the Smoke are in desperation mode here. It's not going to be just enough to win these last 2 rounds. Somebody's got to hit the canvas or get stopped. Otherwise, they're going to take their first loss of the season. Action picking up here now. We'll see if Philadelphia can dig deep in these last 2 money rounds.
I tell you, Luna always looks like he's giving up a lot of weight, size, but he always shines. He always comes through.
He's 4-1 this season in TCL. He's done a nice job. It's been a very pleasant surprise for the Butchers. And Johnson, it's worth noting, is yet to lose. 6-0 this season, so they're relying on him big time to get them right back into this one. And the reality is somebody's got to come through with a big knockdown or knockout.
It's like a stalemate. Nobody's really taking control
very, very
of this
close
round.
round, yeah. Both fighters have an opportunity to separate themselves from the pack in these final 30 seconds. And this right here is what you're paid to see on TCL, this desperation that sets in and you see the action pick up. Both sides need it, both sides want it. Of course, Philly needs it a little bit more than Boston. Nice lead left hand there by Johnson. Johnson lands a couple of tough shots there. Luna in a little bit of trouble as the clock winds down. And there is the final bell. Good round for both, I think.
A good round.
Hard to say. Maybe Johnson squeaked that out in the end. We'll see what the judges think. And that will set the table for how this goes.
The final money round bout between Philadelphia and Boston. Representing Philadelphia, Ray Robinson. And for Boston, Steven Sumpter. That last round was scored 10-9 for Philadelphia. The mark score is 217 to 215 in Boston.
All right, so Philly gets the 10-9 in round 23. And here's where we switch things up. Jesse Hart, instead of taking on Elvin Ayala, now takes on Steven Sumpter to potentially close the show for Philly. So perhaps this was a strategic move on the part of the Smoke to put one of their veterans at the end of the fight. But he's going to need a knockdown to get a draw and a knockout to get the win for Philly. We'll see if it pays off for the Smoke.
I like Sumpter's chances.
Yeah.
He's a big puncher. He's strong. He'll tie him up on the inside.
This, of course, is a rematch from the launch rounds.
Hart could underestimate something.
Sure.
And walk into something big.
Hart really trying to let his hands go. He knows what the Smoke need.
You know, the mistake Sumpter's Hart's making is he's walking in with his chin up in the air. You got to come in behind those punches. You can't just walk in. If Sumpter just steps back on him, slips a hook in, slips a right hook, something he's not used to getting hit with.
And realistically, all Sumpter has to do is stay on his feet. And then the Butchers get the victory. And
right.
You know that's in the back of the mind. And you tend to play it a little safe when you know what you need to do.
But look at how he's lumbering in like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Right? You take it the whole other way.
And surely Hart knows what they need from him, and that's going to change his game plan and his approach. And
right.
Sometimes that approach is not conducive to every fighter. May not be where really Hart's wheelhouse is, if you will. But he is unloading on Sumpter. Sumpter doing a good job covering up for the most part.
I think Sumpter could catch him.
I agree. He could catch him on the way in when that desperation sets in for Hart. That's when sometimes mistakes happen.
But he's doing the smart thing. Sumpter, he's just tying him up.
Yeah.
Get the win for the team.
Hart charging in, trying to get a knockdown or a knockout.
Might have to launch one or two off his chin. Right there. Here we go.
There it is.
You heard him. He got him. Trying to play it off like it didn't hurt him. He got him.
Hart obviously frustrated as Sumpter tries to clinch. Hart knows he needs that walk-off home run, if you will. But here comes Sumpter turning the tables.
He buzzed him. That's why he's holding on. Why would you hold on? You're trying to get the win for your team. If he wasn't hurt, he wouldn't be holding.
It's all about strategy. Crowd chanting, Boston, Boston. Butchers just 20 seconds away from a huge win over the Philly Smoke, who are more than likely going to be handed their first loss of the season.
Wow. I'm impressed the way Boston put it together.
Absolutely. They came in with a short-handed roster, a lot of new faces. As
Against
Sumpter
an
lands
undefeated
big
team.
against the league's best team, the team that came in with 7 knockouts this season. And they did the job tonight. So the Boston Butchers are going to walk away.
Proverbial walk-off
Yes.
for the team.
Sumter is simply closing the show by not getting knocked down. And that's all the Butchers needed in that final 24th round of the night. And a great job by this team. And again, I think that plays into what you and I talk about camaraderie and teamwork. A lot of these guys have trained together. They know each other. They're there to support each other and back each other. This, I think, without having seen every team, is one of the more close-knit teams in the league.
It's like a finely oiled military unit because they're all so close. They're from the same area. They got the camaraderie. They're working together. This is where the victory comes from.
Ring announcer Pat Sullivan in the ring right now as we get the final verdict. And we'll talk more about this, but what a big win for the Butchers. They came off a loss in Atlanta, came back home against an undefeated team, and here we are with a big victory. Let's send it down to Pat Sullivan with the good news.
Ladies and gentlemen, Boston, Massachusetts, and here at Royale, let's hear it for the Philadelphia Smoke and the Boston Butchers. What you saw here today is the beauty of TCL. 24 rounds coming down to the final round of action. And we'll go on the piece right there what you saw. The down great Boston from both sides. But there must be a winner with a final score of 226 to 225. Boston, beat back to the Boston!
So as expected, Philly got the last round, but Boston wins the war and gets the overall victory against the Philadelphia Smoke tonight. And once again, I'll tell you what more can you say about the Boston Butchers? They came off a draw against Los Angeles. They had a tough loss in Orlando against the Atlanta Attack and had to come back home and face the league's only undefeated team. It'd be very easy to have that momentum slip away if they come out tonight and get the victory.
Yeah, they beat a good Philly Smoke, undefeated team with a bunch of really capable fighters, and they pulled it off tonight.
A lot of love in that ring tonight. Rashidi Ellis once again stepping up big time with 2 wins. Amelia Moore, Stevie Jane Coleman, they all did the job tonight. And of course the newest addition, Skylar Lacy, who had 2 big wins at heavyweight. In heavyweight had been a weak spot for the Butchers until now.
Let's hear it for the fight of the night, round 22. C.J. Coleman and Sparrow Ward.
They did a great job, these ladies.
And your 3 stars of the evening. Number 3 from Boston, Skylar Lacy. Star number 2 from Philadelphia, Brittany Sims. Star number 1 from the evening, from the Boston Butchers, Alejandro Paulino.
No surprise there, Alejandro Paulino, the MVP of the night. He had that big knockdown against against Francisco Rodriguez. That was a big tide turn for the Butchers. Both guys have come in with wins in their first fight of the night. Paulino made it 2-0 and got his team a 3-point swing overall tonight. And in the matchup that's decided by 1 point, everybody plays a big role. But that was a big one for Paulino and for the Butchers. It gave him a big cushion. Ellis went out and got the victory. And at that point, all they had to do was hang on for the victory. So take a look at that teamwork in the ring tonight, Peter.
That's it, man. Great young prospect, Paulino. He pulled off some a great win for the team.
Paulino had the 2 big wins tonight. Skylar Lacy in his Boston Butchers debut had 2 big wins at heavyweight for Boston as well. So many big stars tonight. Let's send it down to Ron Borges, our ringside correspondent. He's going to talk to a couple of our winners before we sign off tonight.
You feel the weight of that of having a win for your team rather than just for yourself?
Yeah. If we down and you feel the pressure because your team is down and you want to your team to win, but they cheering us on and they support us and we support them, and it's a great sport. It's a great team sport, and it's good for boxing.
Now you took down the only undefeated team in the league in Philadelphia. You know, they had come in riding. They had 7 knockdowns in their various fights. They took an early lead. What was the mindset of your team coming into the money round?
Come right at them, you know what I'm saying? Like we knew there was going to be a tough team, they're undefeated, and we wanted to give them the first L. So we came extra motivated for that.
There he is, the fight of the night.
Thank you, Ron. So Alejandro Paulino talking about that pressure of going in there and the opportunity to fight as a team and not an individual, and what that means to the Boston Butchers. They get a big win tonight to improve to 2-1-1. Philly dropping 4-1. Aside from some of the names that we already mentioned, like Stevie J. Coleman and Paulino and Skylar Lacy, Peter, who else tonight in your estimation really stood out and made a difference?
I look at Luna. Luna really impressed me. And Paulino always, just the way he sets things up. Stevie came forward. She put on a good show, good performance. And, just as a team, as a unit, I'm most impressed with Boston, the way they come together, the camaraderie. I can hear them screaming. I can see them all chipping in. They're in the fight. Even though they're outside the ring, they're cheering on their teammates. And I think that makes a difference when it comes to, any team sport. And it's new to boxing now with these guys. They're getting a sense of the camaraderie of a team sport, but in a different setting in boxing. And it's refreshing to see. I had no idea that I'd be pulled in to the scoring part of this. I knew I would see great fights, we'd see great matchups, but the scoring just another element that adds to the sport. So if you're new to watching this event, stick around and give it a shot. We really think it's going to do big things and go a long way. And you'll get to watch some good fights in the process in the meantime.
And I agree with you, Peter. I think as the season wears on for all the teams in this league, it's the true teams in the literal sense of the word that are going to do the best going forward. And Boston really has a good vibe going. They've had to replace some fighters. They only had 13 active boxers tonight. This was the thinnest their roster had ever been, and they just got a win over the 4-0 Philadelphia Smoke. I mean, it's amazing going forward what that can do for them. There's a clear sense of passing the baton here, and guys who are pulling together for one another, wanting to see their teammates do well, wanting to see the next guy go in there and get a win. And I think having a group of guys and girls on this Boston roster who've all trained together. They've been on the same fight cards together as pros. There's a camaraderie there that some other cities might not necessarily have. I think that's going to play a big role going forward. We're looking forward to seeing more of what's in store for the Boston Butchers. I want to thank Peter Welch for joining me. I want to thank all the fans for joining us on Team Combat League TV. A big win tonight for the Boston Butchers, who improved to 2-1-1. We'll be back here at the Royale on June 5th, so make sure you join us on YouTube and Team Combat League TV. We look forward to seeing you next time at the fights.
Thanks, Mike. See you all at home.